What's happening, Reds? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this is like, I suppose, a bit of a part two to my previous video, a bit of an extension, a bit more of a deep dive into something I discussed in there, and that is the transfer window coming up. Now, it looks like Liverpool are about to win the league at a canter, and obviously you'll know from the title of my last video, I expressed my concerns about how we may look going into next season. So I just wanted to take a bit more of a deep dive on scenarios that could play out. Obviously, all hypothetical, but all obviously have I suppose, a realistic approach. You know, any one of the things we may discuss today can happen. So it'll probably be broke down into a few areas. So it might be broke down into the fact that Van Dijk, Salah and Trent all stay. It might break down into 2 stay, 1 go. It may even go down to all 3 go. And yeah, we're left up shit's creek, so to speak. So I kind of just want to work out, I suppose, best case scenario. What would FSG do if certain things and certain criteria happened? And basically just try and guess at what is going to happen. Obviously, it is all, you know, guesswork. But I've kind of had a little think about it. Hopefully, it's makes a lot of sense, and it's a sense, and it's a lot. There's a lot of logic for everybody. But let's start off with the scenarios. So, as I say, first scenario is everything's rosy. We win the Premier League. All 3 of the contracts, you know, Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent, work themselves out, and we keep them. So before we even sell any players, whether you were looking at your Nunez's, let's just look at the squad. What would we need if all 3 of those players signed? So I think we'd 100% need a centre-back and a left-back, or a hybrid to get us through. Whether, you know, someone who can fill in for Van Dijk or Konate, but also play left-back. That one's a bit more trickier, but ideally, you know, a centre-back and a left-back. I'd probably go along the lines of saying we do need another centre-mid of, obviously, of sorts that can play the 6, the 8, the 10, give us options to come in and obviously, you know, alleviate some of the pressure of the likes of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Jones, whoever it is. And then from the attacking point of view, as I say, before anyone's sold, you probably still say we need 1 striker. Well, if we're being fussy and saying everybody's staying, we wouldn't. But we all kind of know we do need a number 9 that's obviously going to bag us 20 plus goals, which we currently haven't got, unfortunately. So, if everyone stays, the contracts are signed, we're still going to need 2 defensive players, a midfielder, and a striker. Now, they're not going to come cheap for anyone that we look to either improve the Liverpool team or be at an age where, you know, he's under 23, for instance, but he's classed as a world-class talent, you know, a wonder kid, so to speak, and he's going to come in and learn. So they're still going to cost a pretty penny. You know, they may cost between 40 and 50 million. A top-class striker, let's just say it's Isak, because obviously that's the name that everybody wants, 100 million plus. A centre mid could be anywhere. If you look at the price of Szoboszlai, you know, could be a 60 million pound player. So overall, we're still going to be spending the best part of 200 million before we even look at selling players. We will talk about players that could potentially leave on the back of these things happening. So straight away, in fact, let's talk about them now. Kelleher will probably go. From what I've heard, it'll be between 30 and 40 million for him. He'll improve a lot of Premier League teams' starting 11s. So I don't think he's going to be, you know, short of suitors. So Kelleher will 100% go, I think, especially with Mastrovidilli coming in, obviously having Alisson. Then, as I say, if we keep Trent, all rosy. So let's look at centre-backs. So centre-backs we've been linked with, obviously the likes of Hato. Yeah, we've been linked with him. He would be the perfect understudy to obviously Van Dijk, assuming Van Dijk signs his contract. I think as well, with him being able to play left side, the left back position, that could be one that maybe we save money on a left back because we've got Shimikas and Robertson, and then we invest in the centre back. But again, this is if Van Dijk obviously signs a new contract, things like that. But then, okay, let's just say Hato's unattainable for some reason. We've got Kerkez. Liverpool have been linked with Kerkez for 40 million. perfect. I must admit, I'm not totally convinced on him, but from what I've seen from everybody else, not just Liverpool fans, journalists, respectable people, they're all saying he's really good. I'm yet to see it with him, if I'm being honest. But then again, I also wasn't really interested when Liverpool signed Mo Salah. So I am happy to admit it that I was absolutely wrong about that one. So if Kirkes is the one that comes in, that means Shimikas could leave, I suppose. I don't think it'd be Robertson. Robertson's still got a lot to offer. I know he's the scapegoat on social media. Everyone likes to dig him out, even when he's having good performances. It's a bit mad, to be honest. It reminds you of like the Peter Crouch and the Lucas Leiva scapegoats. No matter how Liverpool played or how they played, it was always their fault. And there's a lot of whinging Liverpool fans who probably don't really know much about football in the sense of what he brings, just jumping on the bandwagon. So I'm happy with that. So it'd be, let's just say Shimikas went, Kirkes came in. So we've sold Kelleher, we'd sell Shimikas, Kirkes could come in, and potentially Hato. That'd be sound. I'd be happy with that, if I'm being honest with you. Then when I look at midfielders, there's not too many off the top of my head that I think could come in and do a job for Liverpool. There is plenty of players I can think, but with Liverpool's early exit from the Champions League, maybe one or two of those players that I would have thought, they would want to join Liverpool wouldn't. Like, for instance, I've been banging on about him for at least 8 months, probably the beginning of the season. PSG's midfield Vitinha, I think you can all see from when he played against Liverpool, don't think he lost the ball. He absolutely ran rings around us over 180 minutes, and he would have been the perfect midfielder to come in and improve us. It's like McAllister, exactly the same style of player as McAllister, so I thought that would have been absolutely fantastic for us. But now, PSG are looking good. They are. Now they've got rid of the superstars. They've got themselves settled. They are looking really good. So I think that one's right out the window. Only other ones that you could potentially, like off the top of my head, think about, as I say, I haven't really looked too much into the actual names, just more of what we need. Morgan Rogers, Aston Villa. Villa fans will just be laughing their heads off at that, but I think he would be absolutely perfect for Liverpool. The legs, the age, everything about him, he's so good. I'd like to think that Liverpool, if they obviously wanted him, they could entice him. And then obviously you look at your striker that we mentioned, Isak, 100 million plus minimum. I do have a little list of strikers as well, and you look at in Wales football that could be attainable. You've got your Isaks, your Seskos, your Delaps, your Gyökeres and Openda, players like that. I think we do need a player that can not just play up front, but be versatile when we do need to get minutes into all the legs, but ultimately a number 9. So that's, as I say, if everything's fine. Happy days, Liverpool win the league. We cut a few deadwood. I will say deadwood. We fringe players, the likes of Shimikas, the likes of Kelleher, Chiesa potentially, Harvey Elliott. Unfortunately, this is something that I've obviously spoke about in the last video. It doesn't seem like he trusts him, unfortunately. Endo, I absolutely love Endo. I actually think he should be getting more minutes this season, but there's definitely something wrong with those 4 or 5 fringe players that are in a slot. Simply, he does not trust them. So we got them off the wage bill, brought those 4 or 5 players in. From what I know, apart from Isak, maybe the others' wages might not be as much. We might do like for like with wages. So wage bill, absolutely fine. Perfect scenario. Liverpool go on to the next, into the next season and challenge on all fronts with a stronger squad. Fantastic. Right. Now let's talk about what is more likely to happen. So, I feel like with the 3, I think Trent's gone. But I also keep on seeing people post, oh no, Liverpool haven't give up with Trent, and it's reeling me back in. It's reeling me back in. Oh, it's not about money. It's about the club's ambition to challenge for trophies, which is a bit mad because Liverpool are always going to challenge for trophies over at least for the next 5 to 10 years. We've got the squad, we've got the structure, but yeah, I do feel like if we're talking about Trent going because he can't come to terms with FSG, he'd be going. So if he went and Van Dijk and Salah stayed, signed their contracts, It's a lot of money, obviously, to sign them to in the sense of the wage bill. When it comes to the right back, there'll be a lot of people there that will go, we've got Conor Bradley. It's absolutely fine. It's not. It is absolutely not. I said it in the last video. I love Conor Bradley, and he can definitely be a starting right back for Liverpool for the next 10 years. But the problem is with the way he plays, the way he applies himself, the way he flies into challenges like the Mbappe one, for instance, the way he throws everything into it, and he's obviously playing at 110% every single time. He's not going to be able to complete a full season without being injured. Now, I know Trent hasn't. I get that. But when Trent hasn't, we've had Bradley, yeah? Before Bradley even came on the scene, there was worries that, oh my God, if Trent gets injured, who have we got? Gomez, yeah? He's not a right back. We need a right back cover. Luckily, Bradley came through and alleviated a lot of, obviously, people's worries about that. But because he goes flying into all these challenges, he's going to be picking up these ankle injuries, these muscle injuries. He's still young. He's still growing. And because of the way he plays football, as I say, he's going to pick up a few knocks that are going to keep him out from 2 to 3 weeks at a time, 3 or 4 times a season. And the only way to stop that is if Arne Slot goes, right, you're the number one, you play at 80%, you play more conservative, and you try and change your game so you're not getting injured as much. So, in my eyes, you can't take that out of Conor Bradley's game. You've got to let him probably play to his strengths to get his position in the team. So with that being said, I feel like if Trent went, we'd need a starting right back, or at least somebody who is not he's more of the number one than Bradley is, and Bradley can bounce off him. So straight away, especially with videos I've been seeing this week, Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen springs to mind. Apparently he will be available for 40 million. So again, good bracket for Liverpool. It's not, the top end of 100 million for for what we know of him. It looks like a world class right back, one of the most exciting in Europe. So yeah, that would be the solution. But then that would also mean that's another 40 million on top of the 200 million we've been talking about. So it's all starting to add up. Can you see FSG already spending this money that's going to be needed? I'm not sure I see it. Okay, so that's that scenario. Right. The next scenario is Salah doesn't sign, because this is the order I think it'd go, by the way. I think Trent's near enough out the door. And then I think out of the other two, I would say Van Dijk's more likely to sign than Salah. Don't know why, I just get there. So let's just go off the chance that Van Dijk stays and then Salah goes. So we've already spent a roughly 240 million on players to bring in. Mo Salah leaves wherever he goes, Saudi, another team in Europe, whatever he would do. How can you replace someone up until a week ago was odds on for the Ballon d'Or? What can you do to replace him? The names that spring to mind straight away, again, with seeing links over, the last few months or whatever. You look at Bakayoko from PSV. Is he a good player? Yes. But if you were going to bring him in, you'd want him to be an understudy to Salah for at least a year, 18 months. So for him to come in and replace Salah would be a tall order. Brahim Diaz, I've said before how much I love him, but is he going to leave Real Madrid to come to Liverpool? I highly doubt it. I've seen links with Cole Palmer. If you want Cole Palmer, it's going to cost you 150 to 180 million minimum. He's got like 9 years left on his contract. There's absolutely no way that happens. And he's a Man United fan. Would he really want to come and join Liverpool? These are the concerns. Now, there'll be a few astute football fanatics out there that can go and name more players. Like, for instance, Kubo from Real Sociedad. I really like him, but I also think the Premier League might be too physical for him. But I do actually really like him. To replace Mo Salah, not only would you have to spend a ridiculous amount of money, I just think whoever you bring in is not going to give you that same return. So then, let's just say we sign somebody who's half as good, half of, 21, 23, will eventually get into the game. That means you're going to have to sign the the big number 9 to obviously alleviate some of the goals, because we'd lose 20, 25 goals a season with Mo Salah. But I just can't, again, now this means, let's just say, because it's so raw with Newcastle beating us, if I'm Isak, I'm wanting to get into the Champions League with Newcastle, and I'm wanting to stay with Newcastle. Unfortunately, unless he's a diehard Liverpool fan, though, for all we know, or he really wants to play with Van Dijk, or he really wants to go to Liverpool, there's no reason why Isak will come to Liverpool, and he's the only way I can see around the goal drought that would be without Mo Salah. Okay, so that's that scenario. Salah goes, Van Dijk stays. Worst case scenario, all 3 leave Liverpool, including Van Dijk. FSG let us down. By the way, FSG will let us down if they don't sign Salah and Van Dijk. If Trent wants to go because he wants a new life in Spain with Jude Bellingham playing for Real Madrid, that's fine. See you later. You'll be forgotten about within a season. We won't care. And that's not because he's not the player. I mean, that's how Liverpool fans will think. They'll be like, he's out of our hair. We've got to now worry about our players. So that's how Liverpool will look at it. We did with Maka. We did with Owen. When they left, they were dead to us until either, I don't know, enough time had passed, or they came back as ambassadors or whatever. To be honest, I still don't take to Michael Owen even after this, and Trent could possibly do that, But let's just say all 3 go. We've signed Frimpong. Let's just say brilliant. Signed Frimpong for Trent. We sign Isak. We sign Kirkes. If Van Dijk leaves and we can't bring in a like for like, and I know there is no like for Van Dijk, but unless we can bring a proven centre back, probably around 28 minimum age for the leadership qualities, we're probably going to have to sign 2 centre-backs, because Van Dijk and Konate are one of the best centre-back partnerships in Europe. But Konate's forever in and out as well. Injuries. So if Van Dijk leaves, touch wood, he's been so consistent, considering he had an ACL a few years ago. His injury record's impeccable. If he leaves, we haven't got a centre-back that you can say 100%, we'll get a full season out of him, barring a few weeks, rests or whatever. We'll get a full season. So it'd be Konate, another centre-back coming in, who ideally you want it to be a young centre-back to learn. And then you're going to have to sign a top class centre-back, which is going to be 100 million, 80 million, 100 million. So that's 350 million, roughly. Can you see what the worry is here if we don't get a few of these contracts sorted? Konate's contract, by the way, is coming up not long after these 3. This is my concern. Hopefully in a week, 2 weeks, we get a few of those contracts sorted out. But my worry is FSG cannot see the bigger picture. If they're going to stick to their guns and go, no, you're just getting 2 years. But by all means, with Salah, 2 years with an extension for 1, I'd be happy with. I understand FSG's policy of, well, what happens in 2 years if he doesn't, kick on, if he starts to look old. Get it, 100%. But I still think by the time Salah's 35, he'd still be doing more in Liverpool shirt than a lot of Liverpool strikers. Like, for instance, if you look at the output of Diaz, Nunes, Jota at the moment, I still think Salah's on top of that, even at 34, 35, when he's slowing up. So I don't think it's as risky as FSG are making out, from a business point of view. And then when you look at our captain, he's a Rolls Royce. It's a terminology that's thrown about so much at the moment, but he was the first player that people started referring to as a Rolls Royce, and now obviously that's the mantle. That's why people start saying Saliba's a Rolls Royce, this person's a Rolls Royce. Van Dijk is still at the top of his game. When you're a centre back, you don't need blistering pace, and he's got so much pace. Doesn't even look that fast, but it's just the strides. You can't get past him. He, again, if you gave him another 2 or 3 year contract, by the time he's 35, again, he's still going to be doing more as a centre-back for Liverpool than anybody else that you could bring in. So here, that's my conundrum with FFG. Why are they so adamant to not give in? Because that's not what I want them to do. At the end of the day, you've got to give the player what you feel like is a good deal. But what's the alternative? Let's just say, for instance, it's 50 grand that Van Dijk wants more, or 50 grand that Salah wants more, or they want to now 1 extra year. The alternative is you've got to go and spend 80 to 100 million to replace them each. Is that worth saving 50 grand and recuperating all their wages to go and get someone who potentially could come in and be okay? When Liverpool are at the top, see, when Klopp won the Premier League, FSG let him down massively to back him in the summer window after that. You remember the year after we lost both our centre-backs. We had Nat Phillips, we had Williams, we had Henderson, Fabinho playing there, which then that meant the midfield wasn't as strong. You know, we lost everything because they did not back Klopp when he was crying out for reinforcements because they thought, we won the league. We'll just get through next season and take all the money ourselves. If that happens again and we lose those 3 players, Liverpool are not going to win. They're not going to win the league. They're not going to finish in the top 4. We'll be back down to mid-table mediocre at a drop of a hat. And I don't know about yourselves, but that scares me, even as we're just about to win the Premier League. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Let me know down in the comments what you think, if you think the points I've made are valid. Even if you think some of the points I've made are silly, let me know. So tell me, Roy, this one's crap, mate. Sort it out. This is why. Alleviate some of my worries. That's what I'd like. I'd like a Liverpool fan in the comments to go, nah, Roy, you've got this. This could happen. We could bring this player in. We could bring that player in. We'll be okay. That's what I want, really. But also, if you agree with anything I've said, let me know again down in the comments below. Anyway, if you watch the video this long, that means you've liked it. So hit a like button. It also means you like me. So subscribe to the channel for more content. I've got 3 or 4 videos planned over the next couple of weeks, which will probably delve more into actual targets. I've got a list on my phone of several attacking midfielders that maybe we haven't seen and on a regular basis linked with Liverpool, and it's just a bit of a deep dive of, like, you know, top 5 strikers that Liverpool could look for, etc, etc. So I've got all those videos coming up, so keep your eye out for them. As I say, like, subscribe, and until next time, take care, Reds.